with, can y'all see my screen okay as well? Are we all okay? I saw like a floating thumbs up. I'm gonna take that as a yes. Okay. So, let's just go have ahead and have all the officers introduce themselves. I'm assuming they're here right now. I'm screen sharing, so I can't look at it at the same time. But I'll start. My name is Sam Kim. I'm the Vice President of Texas A&M Mock Trial, class of 2027. I'm an English major with majors in business and legal foundations. And I'll also introduce our president who couldn't be here right now because he has other prior things going on. But his name is Ayush. He's class of 2026, I believe. And he's a psych major. And he would be really excited to be here.
All right, I can go next.
There are other officers. Oh, I don't hear anything.
Can anyone hear me?
Okay, there we go.
Okay. And can y'all see me? So I'm having to take this to my phone because my computer is not cooperating. Um, but I'll assume y'all can see and hear me. Howdy, y'all. My name's Jacob. I'm y'all's 25, 26 treasurer, class of 27, and I'm a political science and history major with minors in Latino and Mexican American studies and psychology. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here. I'm probably going to be camera off most of the time, but I'll come back when it's my time to speak, and hopefully my computer will start cooperating soon.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shrey. I'm the secretary for the 2025 through 2026 mock trial team. I'm a junior economics major, and yeah, I'm excited to be here and hope to meet y'all soon.
Howdy, everyone. My name is Nandana. I am the Public Relations Officer, and I am also a junior political science major with minors in business and philosophy.
Okay, I think that's everyone for now. We'll just go ahead. So, what mock trial is? The best way I've heard what mock trial is, or the best way I've heard it described, is a competitive public speaking activity based on legal principles. In simple terms, it's just an activity where you simulate a trial, very self-explanatory of the name. So students take on roles as attorneys and witnesses based on a case that were given by a national association every year. And this national association is the American Mock Trial Association, known familiarly to us as AMTA. And so you'll have the opportunity to get hands-on experience crafting case theories, sifting through evidence, applying the law, and getting to perform that in front of a jury and a judge. You'll be able to do things like public speaking, critical thinking, a lot of teamwork because this is a team-based activity, and again, legal reasoning and performance. And so, yeah, and this doesn't have any prior prerequisite things you need to be in order to apply. You don't have to be in anything pre-law. You don't have to be in law or interested in law at all. You don't have to have any public speaking experience in mock trial or theater or debate or any of those things. As long as you have a vested interest in mock trial, we would love to see you apply. Okay, so we briefly went over what mock trial is, but I mentioned that we have a case every year that we take from a national association, and that's what we use to kind of do all the things we can do. And so I wanted to tell you a little bit about the case this year, just to see what's going on and kind of the situations we explore throughout the year. So this year's case, well, first of all, if you've ever seen the reality TV show Survivor, specifically if you're on Survivor Twitter, you might see some familiar things, familiar aspects within this case if you ever get your hands on it. But the premise is this case is set on a reality TV show called The Saboteurs, based on Survivor, where the contestants play a series of games and try to sabotage each other to try to win. And so the defendant, Charlie Martin, well, he's one of those contestants, or she. It's gender, all the witnesses are gender neutral. So Charlie Martin is one of those contestants and has a rivalry with the victim in today's case, Rob Armstrong. And so now Charlie Martin is on trial for criminal homicide, or more specifically, murder, for the murder of Rob Armstrong during one of those games. And so now it's a question of, well, did Charlie Martin actually kill Rob Armstrong? or is there something else more sinister going on? And so if you are in or if you are in this activity, again, you'll be preparing both sides of this case. So in this case, since it's criminal, you'll either be presenting the state of Midlands, aka the prosecution, or Charlie Martin as the defendant. And so yeah, that's a little bit about the case. And so next, I kind of wanted to talk about the expectations of what you'll be seeing throughout the year if you are involved in mock trial. First of all, plain and simple, this is a year-long activity. It's a year-long commitment. And so we don't do recruitment anytime except in the fall. And if you do get on the team, you're expected to keep your attention, keep updated with meetings, and always attend throughout the entire year. And of course, we have different teams for different time commitments, but again, it's an expectation of the entire year. And so we can move on to the things you see on the screen here. First is travel opportunities. So you can expect to travel quite a bit if you do get on the team, simply because our competitions are typically either at other universities, in state, or sometimes even out of state. Typically, we do try to stay within the state, and so you'll be doing a lot of road trips with your team. You will be expecting to spend a lot of time with your team, driving around to, say, University of Houston or Rice University. We've been to San Antonio to visit Trinity University. We go to Baylor a lot, maybe a little too much, as Jacob said yesterday. Um, but yeah, so you can expect all those kinds of things, and especially on those road trips, you can expect fun things like taking your traditional stop at Bucky's, or fighting over the aux cord, or just debriefing after whatever happened at the tournament, whether it was good or bad, or all those different types of things. It's really, really fun. You can expect to make a lot of memories. It's one of my favorite parts, just getting to bond with everybody in the car. Very underrated. Okay, and so next we can move on. Did someone say something? Okay, I'm just gonna move on. I think I heard something, but if there was a question, just go pop it in the chat and one of the officers will answer you. There was one of the officers, I can't hear you. Okay, but year-long casework. So you can expect the case to last the entire year. And with this case that you get, it's a lot of information, a lot of juicy information. Pretty much every time you read it, you might find something new. And throughout the year, I think 2 times in the year specifically, AMPTA will give out case changes. So they'll be throwing out new pieces of evidence, new exhibits, new lines that witnesses say, or sometimes even a new witness entirely. And so you can really expect to always be kept on your toes. You'll constantly be developing new strategies, refining arguments, and definitely doing a lot of rehearsing. Okay, and for kind of bleeds into skill development. So the skills you learn in mock trial are oh, really, really, oh my God. I don't know if you saw what I saw. I don't know what that was. Anyway, you'll be learning a lot of skill development. I don't know if y'all saw that. There was just like applause that just happened on the screen. Anyway, skill development. So mock trial is one of those, it's a really, really special organization. Me personally, I've had so much confidence in myself. My public speaking skills have grown so much just in this organization. Mock trial pushes you to think on your feet, practice court and procedure, obviously, and become a confident speaker. And so if you so thinking wise, I'd say it helps you think smarter and quicker. And speaking wise, it helps you speak more clearly, more persuasively, and more confidently just in general. And you'll be learning how to craft different arguments, speak in a way that compels people to listen to you, compels people to really want to take in what you're saying and believe you. Believability is a huge thing in mock trial. And so, yeah. And of course, last but not least, you'll be seeing lifelong friendships. Okay, this is definitely something that I guess you wouldn't expect just looking at this organization, but is definitely one of the things that I think is the most memorable or most impactful about mock trial. You're the friendships you make just being on the team. You create such tight bonds. I mean, you're working on something so intense and competitive and really special, and getting to see the outcomes come out, getting to work with your team and feeling the successes together and even the failures together, um, it makes it so you have bonds that can last even a lifetime. So I don't know if y'all been keeping up with the Instagram and whatever's. Nandana has made a new thing this year called Why Mock Trial Wednesdays. And so in these Y Mock Trial Wednesdays, we have a lot of alumni come in and they give the reasons why you should join mock trial. And you'll notice that there is a consistent pattern that they always cite that the people you meet, the bonds you make, and the friendships you make last forever because, again, it's just, it kind of bonds you together. It's a really special organization. I've met some of my closest friends here. So, yeah, I'd say for pretty much all the officers, it's probably really dear to all of our hearts. And here's a little mock trial through pictures. You'll notice some of the things I've been talking about. Compete with the best, obviously. Build public speaking skills, win awards, meet your best friends, travel. The one I specifically wanted to talk about is be a part of a top witness program. Shout out to our old president last year who just graduated, Evelyn Chu. She got the really well-deserved opportunity to compete as one of the top 16 witnesses in the nation. It's a really prestigious, the most prestigious witness competition in the nation. And so she got to be a part of that. And so we can definitely say now that we are one of the top witness programs in the nation as well. And so if that's something as well as that interests you, I know attorneys are typically what people look for. Our witnessing is very, very strong. And as someone who's very biased towards that thing, because I love witnesses, it's something I really encourage. And obviously, national ranked team, meet all teams around the nation. Okay, then I'm gonna pass this off to our secretary, Shrey, to talk about the types of roles in trial.
Hi, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to be talking specifically about the attorney side, and then our PR officer, Nanda, is going to be talking about the witness side. But just to kind of give you a brief overview, like, yes, there are two different roles you can do in mock trial. We, as both the attorneys and the witnesses, spend all year collaborating and practicing together. We earn the same points, we compete together in the same rounds. I like to say that you tend to work in something called attorney-witness pairs, where one attorney will typically work really closely with one witness for small parts or even potentially the entire part of the year. And it's really cool because like my freshman like attorney witness pair, his name was Adve. Now he's my roommate actually. So it's really cool. You get to work very closely with each other, bond very closely. But just kind of overall about like what attorneying looks like just in and of itself. You're going to basically be like presenting yourself as if you're a real attorney in a real jury trial. What that means is you're going to be giving the same types of statements, examinations, basically the speeches and way they present like a real lawyer would do in like real court. And so there are four different types of things like attorneys can do in our like fake trial format. The first thing someone can do is something called an opening statement. What that means, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the first thing the judge, jury, whoever is going to hear to like start off the round. It's just an explanation of what's going on in the case and why that's important that you either side with them or like listen to certain things for the rest of trial. Then your direct and cross-examination, that's how you like actually present evidence. Don't worry if you don't know what any of these mean, just by the way. I had no clue what any of this meant when I first joined the team. I frankly didn't even show up to an informational before I joined, so y'all are already ahead of me. We teach you all of these things, like if you are to make it onto the team, so don't worry about it. We just kind of wanted to give you a glimpse as to what it would actually look like. But back to what I was saying earlier, a direct and cross-examination. This is kind of how you get out your like trial evidence in round. So if you're doing a direct examinations, that's where you're asking your witness, the one on your team, some questions to have them explain their story, bring out evidence, and explain like why your side is right, basically. Cross-examination would be probably the direct opposite of that. You're not working with your witness anymore. You're working with the other team's witness. You're kind of working against them, actually. You're kind of asking them questions to kind of poke holes in their story and explain why maybe your side is right and their side is wrong. So that's kind of just how the actual main phase of the trial work. That's be like the bulk of what a mock trial will look like. And at the very end of all the opening statements, direct and cross examinations, we have something called a closing argument. Now, closing argument, again, pretty self-explanatory as to what it sounds like, is the final speech of the round. Both sides get one. It's basically where you tie everything in together and give a concluding statement as to like why you should vote for us or why you should not vote for them at like the end of the trial. So very self-explanatory, and again, Please don't worry if like this kind of flew over your heads. It would have for me if I was a freshman. We'll explain it all. The biggest thing to like understand from all this is that it teaches there's a lot of versatile skills you'll achieve if you are to do these types of roles. You need very dynamic types of speaking styles to transition between stuff like opening statements, closing arguments, direct and crosses. Nadna is going to get into this in a little bit, but there are also different types of witnesses. There's stuff like sympathy witnesses, character witnesses, and that all influences how you as an attorney also present yourself. So overall, it's going to teach you how to become a very dynamic speaker and how to like, and it's going to require you to learn skills you never thought you know how to like, that you never thought you'd need to know. So overall, it's a great time. And beyond that, you also like get to work together as a team. Like attorneys, like you're presenting like a theory to a judge, right? Like why you should vote for our side, why you shouldn't. So there's lots of team building times as attorneys, lots of times where you're like diving through a case together, trying to find evidence. It's a lot of fun. And as someone who's attorney for like the majority of time in mock trial, I would not have done anything else. Yeah, passing it on to Nandana so she can explain the witness side to it.
All right, so witnesses. When you hear mock trial, people just think about the attorneys, but witnesses are truly the most important parts of a trial. Witnesses can make or break a round and are extremely impactful to a jury. Mock trial witnesses are the storytellers that make the case feel real. They turn affidavits into performances that really stick with the jury or the judge. In movies, you see the different types of characters and archetypes. It's exactly like that, but in trial setting for witnesses. Each archetype of a witness serves a unique role. There are your experts, defendants, character witnesses, sympathy witnesses, and investigators. So, your experts are typically the witnesses that explain the technical details of the case, usually scientific details. They can be either scientists, psychologists, forensic analysis, while defendants are the ones that have so much stake in the trial, so they have to balance charm and likability with credibility because they are under the highest pressure, and their job is to basically just convince the jury that they aren't guilty. Character witnesses are my personal favorites. When I'm a witness, I'm usually a character witness, and they're the ones that bring the humor and relatability to trial. They really can humanize the party while also, bringing a lot of jokes and fun into it. I've played a British character, I've played a Jersey character, a Southern character, so it's a lot of versatility and a lot of fun. Sympathy witnesses, their job is to draw out the compassion and the emotion in a case. So if you're a sympathy witness, sometimes you're a crier, other times you're just having this really dark and deep testimony that just really brings out the emotional connection with you and the jury. Investigators kind of just tie the case together. They're typically law enforcement. Amanda, I see your question. Sorry, really quickly. Yes, there are resources available. I'll get into that in just a second. But as I was saying, investigators are just the type of witnesses that really build credibility and context. They're kind of law enforcement or sometimes investigators. And yeah, they just tie in all of the facts of the case. So witnesses just don't answer questions, or they don't just answer questions. They really just shape how the jury views the entirety of the case. So on direct, when your attorney's asking you questions, a witness is supposed to bring an affidavit to life with quirks, emotion, and personality. While on cross, when the opposing attorney is asking you questions, you're supposed to stay calm. They're trying to poke holes into your character, but just stay calm. You're supposed to stay in character and consistent under pressure. Ultimately, witnesses are the face of the case. They give it color, emotion, and memory in a way that legal arguments from attorneys just can't. And to answer your question, Amanda, there are so many resources that help you with your auditions. And if you just want to know what witnesses are or even attorneys are, if you go to the AMTA YouTube channel or just search mock trial round or collegiate mock trial round, Sam and Shrey are the mock trial film nerds of the org, so they can explain it better. But they kind of give insight into what a round is, and it's just a film of a round from beginning to end, so you can see how a trial works. You can see opening statements, closing statements, direct examinations, and cross examinations. But yeah, I'll pass it on back to Shrey.
Okay, so those were the types of attorneys and types of witnesses. Next, we're going to talk. Next slide, please, Sam. Well, yes, now we're going to be talking about the time commitment behind the organization. So I know it seems a little bit daunting, and I'm not going to lie and cover the truth. Mock trial is going to be a time commitment if you do just decide to join our organization. But as everyone has already told you, like kind of in part, it is definitely worth the time commitment. You learn so many different skills, you meet so many cool and interesting people, and overall, you gain like a community, a group of people that you're never going to forget. And it's also just like incredibly valuable as far as any type of connection is concerned. And the people in this organization have got me internships. They're the people I hang out with. Overall, I think it's definitely worth the time commitment if it's something you can put in. But to just kind of explain like what it looks like overall, we do meet every Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 to 11 p.m. These are mandatory meetings. Like, of course, if you have a test or some other thing, commitment going on, we as the officer board are very understanding. We want to work with you to make sure it is something you're able to attend. But if it's something like you just have an org that meets every time that conflicts with it, or a class, it's probably not going to be that like work. It probably won't work out that well because the meetings are where we teach you like all these skills, like how to attorney, how to witness, all the resources we can provide to you, only possible if you show up to our meetings. As far as the competition side is concerned, competitions take up all weekend. As we kind of talked about, they're probably the most fun part about mock trial. You're going to travel together as a team, see all different areas within the state and sometimes across the nation as well. The specific dates about when our tournaments are mostly on our application right now. So if you want to take a look at that after this thing, or Nandana is going to get into the application process in a little bit. So stay tuned for that. But if you're curious about our specific dates for the tournaments, they're on our application. But just generally, we do about 2 to 3 tournaments per semester, so both fall and spring semester. On top of like every time commitment, like the mandatory meetings and the mandatory practice or mandatory tournaments, we also expect our members to put in about 1 to 2 hours of their own personal time on top of that, just to do stuff like homework, prepare the case themselves, that type of thing. It's not going to be like the time commitment you have to put week by week is going to vary depending on like what your team needs at that time, what stage of the year we're in. But just on average, expect it to be about 1 to 2 hours on top of everything else. Like I said earlier, it is definitely a time commitment, but I could not think of a better way personally to spend that time. I definitely think it's one of the most worthwhile things you can do with your time at Texas A&M. But yes, that's it for time commitment. Yeah.
All right, I'll take over from here. So y'all have already heard a little bit about traveling, tournaments, and all those things. So I'll go a little bit more in depth about what our tournaments look like and what our travel schedule looks like. So on Texas A&M mock trial, every member of the team travels with us to tournaments, typically around the state, sometimes in different parts of the country. So if you make it on the team, you're going to be going to tournaments, you're going to be traveling across the state to other undergraduate universities which host their own invitational tournaments. Um, so there are 2 types of tournaments in mock trial. There's our invitational tournaments. Those are happening more during the fall semester. These are kind of like practice tournaments. Everyone's trying their best to be on the top of their game. And we have undergraduate schools from across the country coming to these invitational tournaments, but they're to help us prepare, develop our case theory, practice our material before leading up to our AMTA sanctioned tournaments. So that's our regionals tournament. And if we make it out of regionals orcs and outside of orcs nationals, and those happen in the spring semester. Those are hosted by the American Mock Trial Association. Those are more formal tournaments. We spend our year working towards that regional tournament that happens in the spring semester. For the rest of the year, we're going to invitationals. We've been historically very good at invitationals. We've won many team awards. We had the best invitational record in the state of Texas last year, and a lot of individual awards as well. But those are to help us develop our skills, develop our case theory over the year. Tournaments are typically happening on Saturdays and Sundays, and we'll drive down on Fridays. Don't worry about missing class. We always have our advisor, Dr. Kepsel, write an excuse note for students. So you should be able to get out of whatever class you have on Fridays if you have a tournament that you have to drive down to. And like I said, these tournaments are hosted by other undergraduate universities. So we travel to Houston to go to UH's tournament or Rice's tournament, to Dallas for doing a scrimmage with SMU or UTD, University of Texas at Austin, Baylor in Waco, is it OU, I think that's in Norman, Oklahoma, New Orleans, Los Angeles. These are all places that we have traveled to before in the past. So we travel a lot. It's one thing that makes Texas A&M Mock Trial unique from some of the other competitive academic organizations here on campus. Um, and yeah, I'll just add that trips are probably the most memorable part of mock trial. It really can make your undergraduate experience. Not only the process of like driving 2 to 3 hours away with these a group of people who, I mean, you're all friends, you've all worked very hard for this common goal, and those road trips are unforgettable, but spending times in those cities across the state is yeah, very memorable and very fun. You can go to the next slide. All right, let's talk about dues. So I want to do two main things. I want to clarify and give some transparency to why we charge what we do for dues. And second, make clear that these dues should not be a barrier for anybody to applying or making it on the team here at Texas A&M Mock Trial. So we charge $350 for the full year of dues, and we charge that in the fall semester. At the beginning of the fall semester, typically a few weeks after y'all have gotten on the team. We charge that early on in the year because we have to book hotels for our invitational tournaments as early as we can so we can get the cheapest prices and we can ensure that we have a place to stay whenever we're going to travel to any sort of city that's far away. We use these costs to cover a whole lot of things. But mainly our costs come in terms of travel. So we've made the decision a long time ago as an organization that we'll charge dues up front, and then we as an organization cover all your travel expenses. We cover your hotels, we cover the cost to drive and commute there. We just think that's the most fair and equitable thing to do. We know of other undergraduate mock trial organizations which make their members pay for every single tournament we go to. We just don't think that's the most fair outcome. So we charge that $350 at the beginning of the year, and then you shouldn't have to take on any costs as a member of Texas A&M mock trial after that. Like I said, those go to hotels. We also have to pay tournament fees just to compete at invitational tournaments and at AMTA sanctioned tournaments. We have to pay them. Travel costs. We need to pay the American Mock Trial Association just to be able to use their case. Anything that we might need to use in trial, whether we had to create a visual aid. Those are all things that our dues go to cover. And so that second part, these dues should not be a barrier. We are committed to making sure that anybody who wants to be in mock trial can make it in mock trial, and we will work with you to make sure that you're able to make it on the team no matter what your financial situation looks like. So there's a lot of different options available to be able to make it work. We have something to pull from called the Aggie Experience Fund, which can give every single student up to $200 to cover dues for the cost of undergraduate organizations. That includes mock trial. We can also work to put you on a payment plan that way that you can make small increment payments throughout the entire year. These are all things that we'll do to work with you to make sure that anybody who wants to join mock trial should join it. So don't let the dues scare you into not applying. We're able to work with you. And I'm personally committed, and I know this board is committed to making sure that everyone who wants to be on this team can make it on the team, despite the financial burden of dues.
All right. So the application process has two steps. Returners and new members are required to try out, and there will be a written portion as well as an audition, and they're going to be scored by the five officers. So that's just going to be me, Jacob, Sam, Shrey, and Ayush. And one thing that I just want to say right now is that all five of us have been in y'all's shoes before. We've applied, we've been through the audition process as new members, so we completely get it. This isn't something to stress out about. And yeah, just try your best is all I'm going to say. So I wanted to talk first about the written portion. First, there's just going to be a list of dates and times which you need to check off to indicate your availability. A lot of people haven't been checking them off, and we've had to email them and make sure that they are available on those times. If this is you, just don't worry, you aren't the only one. Make sure that you fix it by the deadline, which is September 7th at 5 p.m. Then, in the written portion is 6 to 7 brief essay questions. They're designed to get to know you as a person, your passion, your prior experience, how you found out about the org and why you want to be a part of the org. And then there's also an unscored DEIA portion, which we added this year. What this is meant to do is just give us a more holistic view of the applicant and how they can contribute to the culture of our team. My biggest piece of advice for the written portion is to just try your best. And please don't use ChatGPT because we can tell, and it's pretty obvious when y'all do. And honestly, just showcase your passion. All applications, like I said, are due on the 7th at 5 p.m. And I just want to emphasize we don't take applications any later than that, so earlier the better. And if you make it past that round, next slide, you get invited to interview with us, which is very exciting. We're going to email a tryout packet with a list of 10 speech prompts and around 5 monologues. If you're trying out to be an attorney, at your audition, we're going to ask you to pick a number, and each number correlates with one of the 10 speech prompts. And you get to perform a 1.5 minute speech uh, on one of those 10 prompts. If you're a speech and debate kid, it's really similar to giving a persuasive extemporaneous speech. We're just trying to get a better view on how you form an argument and your speaking skills. And after your speech as an attorney, we're going to ask you a few short questions based on your prompt and try to poke holes in your argument. Your goal is to just show us that you can organize and defend your argument clearly and persuasively. Now, if you're trying out to be a witness, you'll get to showcase both your acting and improvisation skills. You get to choose two of the five monologues to memorize, and each of those monologues represent a different archetype. Like I said, they range from sympathy, character, expert, defendant, and investigator. During your audition, you just perform these monologues on the stand as if you were testifying in trial. Your goal isn't to just perform a monologue and recite the lines like a very monotone, but it's to embody the role fully. You have to add personality, emotion, quirks, and those realistic reactions that just make a witness feel very authentic. After this, we're going to ask you a few questions as well. Your job is to just respond like you would as the witness. We're looking for people who can stay in character, think quickly on their feet, and try to avoid what those questions are doing and, seem very credible on stand. If you're trying out to be both an attorney and a witness, you'll do one speech, you'll get the like questions like I said, and then you'll only prep for one monologue and you can choose any archetype out of the five. Now, after that, it's just a more casual interview, like the interviews that you've seen for jobs or other orgs that you've probably done interviews for. And yeah, we're just trying to get to know you more as a person. We're trying to see your passion, your work ethic, and if you would be a good fit for our org. And in the chat, I see that Evelyn asked a question about what you guys are going to be looking for in the interview process. Basically, what we're looking for are people that are passionate and are willing to give their all into this org. And yeah, we're just looking for people that can think quickly on their feet, have good speaking skills, and be an overall great fit for the team.
But yeah, just to wrap it all up, here's some important dates coming up that are going to come up quite kind of quickly. So these are all on our website and Instagram as well. So don't feel like you have to like take a picture, write it down, anything like that. If you want to, like I recommend it, but just in case, it's all on our Instagram, all on our website. So don't worry about it. But as like Nandana mentioned earlier, that application is due September 7th at 5 p.m. That's this Sunday, just for context. So it's right around the corner. It isn't the longest application, but I do recommend starting a bit ahead of time just in case we can correct anything. As we talked about earlier, some people are like forgetting to check off boxes and stuff. If you make a simple error like that, it's better to submit it ahead of time so we as the officer board can reach back out to you and let you know that something's missing or you need to fix like one small little thing. Then on September 9th, we're going to send out the round one cuts. So that's basically everyone who's made it past our audition or past our application process and onto our audition process. We'll send out like a sign up genius so you can sign up for an audition time. And then we're going to send out the rest of the audition materials like the monologues, the application or the witness or the impromptu question prompts, that type of thing. September 12th through 15th are the actual dates for auditions. So you'll sign up for a date on, or you'll sign up for a time on one of those dates if you make it to that stage. After that, we as the officer board will come together and we're going to release final decisions on September 16th, the very next day after auditions. If you make it past there, you're going to be on our team. So congratulations. And then we hit the ground running right away. We meet that very same Thursday on September 18th. That's going to be our first team meeting. As I said earlier, those go from like 8:30 to 11 p.m. And then that very weekend on September 21st, we're going to be doing an all org photo shoot as well. So we're going to be taking pictures of all you, headshots for every single member, coming together and doing some team photos as well, just to like not only give y'all some stuff for your own interviews, your own professional development, but also give us some nice things to post on our Instagram as well. So very fun experience overall, and these are just the important dates to look out for. Okay. I think we're all gonna be talking a little bit about our own experience as well in mock trial, kind of like how we came into it, how we've grown and like changed over these past years we've done it. All four of us actually are juniors, so we all came together in the same year on our freshman year 2 years ago. So I'll just go ahead and start us off then, talk briefly about my experience. So when I came into this organization, I had no mock trial experience whatsoever. I'd done a little bit of speech and debate back in high school, but frankly, I had no clue what mock trial was. I knew I was pre-law. I knew law school was kind of the goal, but also at the same time, I was exploring other options at that point. So the main thing my adventurous freshman self wanted to do was find pre-law organizations. So I Googled like pre-law orgs at Texas A&M. I found Texas A&M mock trial actually. Did not show up to a single like informational tabling event, anything. I just submitted my application an hour before it was due and was like, let's pray for the best. And it turned out pretty well for me, I'll say. Coming into my freshman year, I didn't really know what it was going to look like. I felt like everyone was going to be ahead of me, that I'd have to catch up. Honestly, it never felt like that to me whatsoever. The officer board was so willing to work with me and like help us out. And not just me, basically, I talked to every single member. They kind of all felt the same way coming in. They were like, oh, everyone's going to be better than me. Everyone's going to have experience. Trust me, it's not like that at all. We're almost all starting from the same ground zero stage. And the officers are especially willing to work with you and make you better attorneys, better witnesses, better anything, public speakers overall. And so I started off my freshman year like really gunning for it. I wanted to be on our most competitive team right off the bat. That was always my ambition, my goal. And through like the work I was able to put in that freshman year, I ended up being on that A team towards the end of my freshman year. And then I was actually the captain of that A team this past year as well, alongside our treasurer, Mr. Jacobs Zertucci. So it's been a very fun experience overall for me. I've met lots of incredible people in this organization. The officers are some of my closest friends. And yeah, it's just been a great time.
Okay, I think I'll talk about my experience next. So, mock trial has been something I've been doing since high school. I started in freshman year of high school, actually, just on a whim. And I kept doing it throughout high school because I just couldn't get enough of it. I thought it was so unique. It allowed me to create um, these really like theatrical characters and do a lot of improv, but also in just a legal aspect to get my hands on something that I originally didn't have any clue or any want to be involved in. Um, but when I came to college, I actually was very adamant that I wasn't going to join the mock trial team. And the reason was because I was just nervous. I wasn't sure if I was going to do law. In fact, I was very adamant I wasn't going to do law. And I thought mock trial was, well, the college experience, the college mock trial experience specifically looked a lot more intimidating to me. So I was really, really scared to apply. And then Ayush, he's in the middle of that picture in the jean jacket there. He was actually the one who convinced me to just put in my application and see where it goes. And then now I'm here. I got on the team and I, just like Shrey said, met my closest friends, some of which are on the board. And I've become so much of a more confident person, confident speaker. I can definitely say that even in things like, for example, job interviews, I can very much say I can knock job interviews out of the park now just because of the soft skills that mock trial has taught me, which I think I mentioned earlier. Um, But yeah, I think my experiences genuinely defined my college experience. Mock trial is something that frankly, I don't really know what college would be without mock trial because it kind of gives you everything you need in the social sphere and like the career aspects and just soft skills that you need. So it's something that I hold really near and dear to my heart. I'm also, I think, not that I mentioned earlier that I'm like a bit of a mock trial nerd, especially when it comes to like footage and our like history and all that. So I love digging into that kind of thing. So if you have any interest in that, I'm the person to talk to. Don't worry. If you get on the team, we'll talk about it. But yeah, that's a little bit of my experience.
I can go next. I'm probably going to speak for a little bit shorter amount of time. I want to respect everyone's time. So I'll just give you some insight into my experience before I came in, my experience with the team. So my experience is really similar to Shrey's. I had no idea what mock trial was. Whenever I came here to Texas A&M and when I applied, I probably couldn't tell you what a trial was before I joined, to be honest. And I tried looking it up to figure it out, and it just wasn't making sense to me. I had to see it before I understood. So I genuinely had no idea what this organization would look like. All I knew that it was a public speaking activity, and I had done speech and debate in high school, and I was thinking, well, I want to join some sort of activity here on campus where I can continue to extend those public speaking skills. Maybe I'll do law, maybe I'll teach. I didn't really know at that point, but I knew that public speaking was an important skill to have. It was a skill that I had been developing that I wanted to further develop. And so, yeah, I applied on a whim. And when I made it on the team, it was not what I expected because I didn't know what to expect really. And I found my community here, and it certainly was that public speaking activity that I was looking for, and it certainly has made me a much better public speaker over the past few years. But it's a lot more than that. What I didn't know that I was going to find, but what I did desperately need when I first applied was a community of people here on campus at A&M, and I found that here at mock trial. And like Sam said, like my college experience would be unrecognizable without mock trial in my life. So yeah, I'm very glad I joined. I did it on a whim because I thought, hey, I can do some public speaking. And it turned into so much more than that for me.
All right, so my experience, it's a bit different from the others. I was a theater kid for my entire life. I had no idea what mock trial was either. My freshman year, I was in other orgs. I was well established at A&M, so I didn't really think of mock trial. I was like, why join another org? Like, I don't know. I don't have any time whatsoever. But it was actually my parents that encouraged me to join. They said that I still needed to work on my public speaking skills, which is a little backhanded, but it was true at the time. They were like, well, you're pre-law and it's something that you love. You like theater, you like arguing a lot, so why not join mock trial? So like Sam and like Jacob, I applied on a whim. And surprisingly, my audition didn't go as I had hoped. I was extremely sick and my speech, I can say it now, it just completely it was not that good. My voice was gone. I was coughing through it. And after I was done, I was just like, there's no chance I'm gonna make it on this team. But I ended up doing so, and I talked to a few of the officers after, and they said it was because I just seemed very passionate about the org. I just seemed like I really wanted to be there. And at first, that was definitely the case, but there was a lot of imposter syndrome that I personally had because you're just with 28 of the most smart, intelligent, well-spoken people on campus. But I'm just gonna say here, my mock trial experience couldn't have been what it was without the people that shaped it. My captains at first, Ayush and Gavin, are two of my best friends now. They taught me everything that I needed to know about mock trial, but also about college in general. Sam, Shrey, and Jacob are three of some of my best friends, but I constantly look up to them, whether it be administrative things or I look up to them as captains, as leaders, but also as some great people on campus. And people, returners like Nisha, um, like Alex, like Sache, Ethan, Adve, who you'll meet in the future, but they're people that I look up to a lot and I learn from every single day. But yeah, mock trial is such a big part of my college experience, and I can't imagine Texas A&M without it. Now, we just wanted to sorry, we just wanted to have a period where you guys can ask us questions. Feel free to unmute and just ask, but if you're shy, just put it in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them.
And I think we could start by answering a question. I don't know if anyone got to it, but Evelyn asked earlier on, can I still join even if I end up getting an internship in the spring semester? I don't know if we addressed that one. Okay,
Oh,
no, I can go ahead and address that one now. Yes, you can definitely still apply. Now, we do have those time commitments. You are still required to attend our weekly meetings on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 to 11. Um, and hopefully you can maybe manipulate your schedule a little bit to make sure that you can attend that big regional tournament in the spring semester, which is super important. But you're still able to manage working and doing mock trial. I personally am a resident advisor here on campus. I'm on duty right now in my dorm, and I have to walk through the dorm in just a little bit. Our president Ayush is also a resident advisor. On top of being a resident advisor, I'm a research assistant. I do research with a professor at the Bush School, and I also tutor 3 times every week through the Teach for America Ignite Fellowship. So you're able to work and do mock trial. You can definitely fit both into your schedule. You want to be thinking about making sure that you can still attend those meetings because mock trial is a year-long commitment. But if your worry is about like time management, whether you'll be able to handle both, a ton of people in our org work and they do mock trial. So I wouldn't worry about that. Does someone want to take Evelyn's most recent question?
Yeah, I can take it. Okay, so you really do not need to be pre-law whatsoever. We talked briefly about like our old president. Her name is Evelyn Chu. She's currently studying to go to med school. Honestly, the only thing that we are looking for exactly is that you want to A, improve your public speaking skills, and B, that you want to be here. We really don't even care too much about experience, like you mentioned. Some of our best members have come into this organization with absolutely no debate, theater, mock trial experience whatsoever. Because at the end of the day, that experience, while like it might look nice and like it sounds cool that you did something in the past, college mock trial is just so unlike anything compared to these like high school type events that no matter what you like have done beforehand, it does not really create that big of an edge or any difference when you start out. That's why the main thing we as an officer board always look for is enthusiasm and willingness to be there. So yeah, like, and I'll give you like even specific examples. Our like A-team opener now 2 years in a row have been people who came into this organization with absolutely no like debate, mock trial, theater experience whatsoever. There are people who just joined our organization or like, hey, I want to be here. Hey, I want to work. And they became some of our most successful members very shortly. Someone wanted
okay.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I see that question. Where do meetings take place? So I'm the one who's like coordinating this, and we just got new news today. But the meetings this throughout the fall semester at the very least will be in MSC 2405, which is just the second floor of the MSC. Typically, all of our meetings take place in the MSC, all of our practices, especially outside practices. It's just a really good meeting ground. So even if throughout the year, you'll probably see us in the MSC on the second floor.
Hey, I just had a quick question. I hope you're having a good night, by the way. But I was just wondering, like, I also wanted to join like a flow. Is that like, have any of you like ever done that, or like, is it still possible to like, oh, okay, like manage both, or like even is it feasible?
Yeah, so I was in a flow my freshman year as well. I was a part of Flash for a bit, and it's definitely possible to manage both a flow and mock trial. Savelli, Savelli, who is one of our returners that are going to be applying this year, he was also in Flash, but it's so possible to not only manage flows, but also manage sororities, fraternities, any org that takes up a lot of your time commitment. Mock trial is very willing to work with you in terms of time commitment and if you have other obligations.
Thank you.
So I see a question from Nisha that's saying there are multiple teams and how does that work and who goes on which team? So yes, we do have multiple teams. And the way it works is at the beginning of the year for your first, I think, two tournaments, you'll be on teams that are equally spread out. It's just three teams where we're equally spreading out our resources, making sure everybody's in a learning stage. And then after that, we do something called stacking. So stacking is a process where we essentially have three different teams. They're A, B, and C. And so through a combination of seeing which people you work with the most, what roles specifically you're taking on, what your time commitment level is, going from highest to lowest, and also a bit of competitive viability as well. We stack you into those three different teams. So A team, for example, would be our most competitive, our most time commitment heavy. And then that goes down all the way to C team, our least time commitment heavy. Okay. Any other questions at all?
Yeah, I just had one more. I don't
Mhm.
know if we like travel during class and stuff. Like, will we be excused from class, or like is that a different ordeal or something?
Yeah, so to just answer your question briefly, we do get excused absences on behalf of the university. Our advisor, Dr. Capsell, he'll send out a note that's in compliance with Student Rule 7. So it should get you out of all your classes, tests, whatever you have on a day we're traveling. If any issue ever arises, just come talk to us as an officer board and we can arrange something. But as far as I've seen, every professor has been willing to accommodate like our excuses.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Don't be afraid to drop it in the chat if you're too afraid to speak up. That's totally okay.
I'll answer Evelyn's question really quickly about do we always stay that late, 11 p.m. We have a bunch of different teams and options on um, your time commitment based on how much you want to give into it. Like Sam always says, mock trial is really how much you give to into it, you get back. So some teams stay until 11 p.m. or even later, like 12, but other teams they end at 10:30. It really depends on the time period. If it's closer to regionals or nationals times, we do stay a bit later, but if it's in the beginning of the year or during tournaments, we can end at 10 to 10:30. But yeah, it really depends on what team you're on or yeah, if you ever want to leave early because of a test or anything like that, you can always communicate with your captains. All of the officers and captains are very, very willing to work with your individual needs.
And just to give some more insight into that time, why our meetings last from 8:30 to 11, we typically bifurcate our meetings into a first part where it's the entire organization as a whole. We might be having lectures or drills, especially at the beginning of the year as we're learning what mock trial is, getting those basic foundations. And the second half of our meeting is typically our what we call team time. So that's where you'll meet. All of A team meets, all of B team meets, all of C team meets, and then that's where you're doing a lot more of the nitty-gritty who's doing what assignment, what are our deadlines, what are we working on, what are we practicing in specific to that team. So that's typically why we stay until 11. But yeah, if you ever need to leave early for any reason, you can talk to your captains, you can talk to the officers. We're going to be willing to work with you as long as you're willing to make that commitment to stay till at least around 10:30 or 11 regularly throughout the year. But if you ever on occasion you need to leave early, that's completely fine.
Okay, to answer Amanda's question about the witness interview or an audition, whether you can create a character for the speech, that's actually highly encouraged. So, what you'll notice if you do get the audition monologues, I was the one who wrote them. I specifically wrote them, so if you do have trouble finding a character, there's something within it already that you can manipulate and just give as it's written. But it's really encouraged for you to bring your own unique takes on any kind of monologue that you want. Again, I wrote them specifically based on the archetypes you'll see in mock trial, but what we're really looking for is what your acting abilities, what your capabilities, how you want to present, what that can do to a script like that. And especially because there is like an improv element to it, because of the questions that we'll be asking you and testing your characterization as well, we want you to do something that you know how to do and that you're comfortable doing. Very good question. Okay, I think we'll wrap up here soon. So if you have any last questions, just pop them in the chat. And if you think of a question later, feel free to DM us on Instagram or email us at tamumocktrial at gmail.com. Very easy to remember. We'll always be responding to questions. We want to help you as much as possible. But yeah, if there's no more other questions, I think we'll wrap up there.